Rabbi Isai, welcome back to Yerushalmi Eruvin. We are holding on Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. We are Perek Shvi Halacha Hey. Now we're talking about things dividing two courtyards. So matbein, imagine a big straw stack, a haystack of straw, which separates between two courtyards. Gavai Asar Tfachim is 10 Tfachim high, Ma'avin Shnaim, and the two courtyards are considered separate. Bein Ma'avin Echad, they can't join together because you've got this big stack of straw in the middle. Elu ma'achilin mikan. Now, these people from this courtyard can nibble with their animals away from the straw from this side. Elu ma'achilin mikan. And the people on the other side can get their animals to eat from the straw from the other side. And we don't worry, look, this stack might suddenly reduce from a height of 10 tefachim. And they won't realize, oh, now they can't carry, and they'll carry on carrying be'isur. So we don't have to worry about that. Nizmai tater masar tefachim. If the stack does become reduced less than 10 tefachim, ma'avin echad, then they have to join as one eruv together. But in ma'avin shnayim, but not two, because there's no mechitza anymore. They are one courtyard. Let's see the Gemara. Now we said the people in the two courtyards, through the straw, they can get their animal to eat from the straw. This is the way to read it. These people can fill their containers from the straw mikan, from this side, and give it to eat to their animals. And these ones fill their containers from this side, and give it to the animals. When I sat before Menachem, Aban Amri would have said, no, Elazar. The truth is they can't put it in their boxes to give to the animals. Shalai Taimar, do not say, by taking your hands, Eina Kesaisa Halim, it shouldn't be considered like bringing down a building on Shabbos, and that's why it's permitted. And the truth is, it's forbidden for another reason, because it's like supporting a building on Shabbos. That's the problem. When you're like putting your arm against it, you're sort of supporting it a bit. Imagine if the straw is sort of spread out and you take a bit and it's going to scatter on the floor. You're going to support the straw to the stack with the sides of a box, something which you can't do on Shabbos. You're going to sort of support it in place. So that in order to stop people doing this, the Chacham said, don't you take with your hands from this straw on Shabbos. Now, this straw can be a mechitza between two courtyards. We don't worry it become possible on Shabbos. Rav Hoshabai, if you put a sheet up as a mechitza between two courtyards, and you supported it to a chair so it shouldn't fall, what's the din? Is there mechitza, and they can make two separate eruvs, or maybe we have to worry, maybe the chair will come away, the thing will fall down, and therefore it's not a mechitza. So the Gemara answers, if it's supported by a chair, it can't be a mechitza. He says, no makan, with a sheet which is supported on a chair, it's there only l'shah, it's only there for a small period of time, so you can't rely on it to be a mechitza. But no makan, with the straw, it's there l'shah, it's going to stay a long time, and therefore we can rely on it to be a mechitza. Tanya we've learned, you have the straw between the two courtyards. This one can open its entrance from its side, and give the animals to eat. This one opens its door from the other side, and it gives the animals to eat. If the straw is lower than 10 tefachim, both of them are they can't take from it until they join together in an eruv. Therefore, what can they do to allow them to carry? One wants to close up their entrance, open to this straw area. It will give over their rishus, give up their rishus. Then so then they can't take from that straw. The other ones can. You imagine you've got a ditch between two courtyards, which is not really big enough to be a mechitza, and we can allow carrying from the house to the courtyard. So so you got this sort of ditch between the two courtyards. Hadamra, this price tells me one courtyard can give over their rishus to another courtyard. And Hadamra, we also learn that you can do it even if the people didn't make any eruv at all before Shabbos. And Hadamra tells me even if people didn't have intention before Shabbos to rely on the bittul. So the Brisa tells you bittul rishus helps even if you didn't have intention before. And it also tells me you can't have people of two domains. They're forbidden to start using a combined area between them, right? They can't use one rishus, two different rishus. Two people can't be in charge of this area. Hadara. Now this Brisa tells me that's if the area is easy to use for both domains. Lezeba Pesach or Lezeba Pesach. Well, this one's got a door, this one's got a door. Shnein Asurin. Then they're both forbidden to carry in that area which is owned by both of them. But if the area is easier for one more than the other, then the use is forbidden to the other one. Which way around? If the area is less easy to use to one of the domains, then it's forbidden to use for that domain. That domain that's less easily accessible, it will be forbidden to them. Now, the Brisa also said, Mechena Bayis, you have an area, let's say, surrounded with a wall, which has got the straw, Sheben Shtei Chatzeros, between the two courtyards, and if the Mechitza falls away, then they can close their door and allow the other people to get at the straw. But this din is not Kremer. To Amar, he said, Bayis, no, even if you have a locked door, you didn't join in an Eruv also, you still forbid things to the other people. The fact that you lock your door doesn't help at all. Halachava. Now we're talking about Shtuvim Avais. Shtuvim Avais, you'll leave in one of the courtyards food for a certain amount for all the people living in the courtyard. You don't need to claim food from every family. One person can provide all the food that's needed. So, how do you join together to make Shtuvim Avais? Maniach esachaves, you leave a barrel and where the food is, he said, this is for all the people of Mazaka. You acquire it on their behalf through your adult children. You tell them to pick it up on behalf of all these other people, or your Jewish servants, through your wife. You cannot use not people who are part of you. There should be people independent from you, right? And your small children are your dependents, so don't use them. Don't use your non-Jewish servants because they are just an extension of you. Now, you do not. So we said in our Mishnah, you leave the food and you do it on their behalf. But Brisa says the opposite. The wine in the barrel. Rabbi says the reason why you have to worry is he says the worry is you'll forget that you set aside the wine for everyone, and you'll take it for your own use, and the shituf will be puzzle. Now, what are we talking about? Because now, when it said you can acquire the food, the shituf, through your Jewish maidservant. Now, how old is a Jewish maidservant? Because remember, Jewish maidservants go free when they become mature, right? They go free unless they become a wife. So, in Begadola, if she is older, she's older than 12 and shown signs of puberty, then Zachas v'Simanin. Then she's gone free by showing these signs. She's not a maidservant anymore. And in Bekitana, if she's a youngster, how can she do shituf through her? Katan Zach, can a child acquire it for everyone else? Amruda Bashalim can Rabbi Yossi Tifta, like the one who says Katan Torah. There's an opinion who says a child can take truma, and the Mishnah says just like a child has das to separate truma, so also they can make a kinyan. But Rabbi Yossi said, don't tell me that it's like those who say a child can take truma. Even if he can't take truma, he can still acquire for other people. That's a you can acquire shituf through a child, even though she's a child. Now, the child can acquire, so it's not connected to whether they can take truma or not. Now, we're going to bring a discussion about a child. It's machlokes amaroim. According to Chachamim Babel, Nicha, I understand. They say a child can make a kinyan. Tamad Amrin, over there in Babel, they say, V'shem Nachma Yaakov, the famous cloud about a child. So now, we're different levels of ability of a child, right? You got Kol Haloshon in the Egos Mashiach, you give him a nut and he throws it. It's a Tzarayim Anod, you give him a pebble, a stone, and he takes it. He doesn't understand that a nut has got value and the stone has no value. Then his din is a very low level, right? And if you find something from Hefka, if you take it away from him, it's fine. It's like complete Hefka dummy. It's if you find a Hefka. The child has no das. He cannot make a kinyan at all. And the item is still Hefka. And anyone can take it. Then you have a more mature child, second type. Hey guys, if you give him a nut, and he takes it, and Sarai, you give him a pebble, machlicha, he throws it, then Gezela Gezem Neidakishon, then it's rabbinical theft to take it away from him. He hasn't got proper das, but there's a takanas chachavim that you can't take something from him. The third type, if he's a wise man, he's a wise child, you give him a nut, and he guard it, he takes the nut, and he takes the pebble, and he guards them, and he brings them later, then gezelai, gezel gomo, that's gezel min HaTorah if you take it away, not just Darkei Shalom. Now, even in the third stage, Zocha la'atzma, he can acquire things for himself, avol lacherim, but not for others. Right? Not for others. Rav Hudam, he said, Geshem Zocha la'atzma, he can acquire for himself, Kal Zocha lacherim, he can acquire for others. Now, the Amma Ivriya then, Kunta Bavel, okay, maybe it's Amma Ivriya, she's got this sort of das, she can acquire for a master for the sake of everyone else. Now, everyone agrees the child who gives a gift, even if he's got proper das, is not considered a gift. The Yerushalmi says, Ki'itin ish, a person gives to his friend vessels, things to guard. Matanas ish matana, a man can give a gift, a child can't give a gift. Now, there's an opinion who argues on Chachmei Babel. They say a child can never make a kinyan, even for themselves. Divrei Chachamim, Chachamim Eretz Yisrael, Rav Yehuda ben Pasha Rav Yechon, Rav Yaakov Shem Rav Yechon, Olam Ein Zedem Mechuva. No, there's never proper theft. You're not over Gesel Min HaTorah. Until they show signs of maturity. It's still a child. It's not a proper kinyan. Rabbi Vav Shem Rav Yechon, and that which you say there's an argument there is Yisrael Chachamim, when Bavel has a child, can he make a kinyan? That's all very well. You want to take something from him. Someone stole from a child, based in, and he wants to take it back. So Chachmei Bavel, we take it back from the thief. Chachmei Eretz Yisrael, we don't take it from the thief. Aval, but as far as whether Gazan has to bring a carbon shvua, let's say he makes a false oath that a person never stole from a child, with his shvua, or the question if a child can cause someone, a claimant, to make a shvua, everyone agrees there's no chiyuv carbon until the child is an adult, and then he can obligate an oath or obligate a shvua. And if someone swears and he lies, he'll have to bring carbon shvua. But if, let's say, you claim from someone while he's a child and he's not chayav to make a shvua, it makes sure the sheker is not chayav a carbon. A child claiming is not considered a claim. You hear that? If a child is the one claiming, then the other person is not considered a claim. He doesn't have to make a shvua in such a case. He says here, so you don't make a shvua on a child getting you to make a shvua. You're not chayav Kol Haloshon. This is the Yerushalmi. The Bavli holds that even if you make a shvua in sheker to a child, you're chayav carbon shvua. Because, that's what we're saying. You're chayav. You don't need a claim to be obligated in carbon shvua. It doesn't depend on a claim. Okay, we brought the Chachmei Eretz Yisrael. We're going to ask, how's it going to fit in with our Mishnah? It's all very well that the Mishnah about Amma Ivriya, Chachmei Bavel, a child has got das, can make a kinyan, fair enough. So the Amma Ivriya can acquire for everyone else. But according to Chacham and Eretz Yisrael, it doesn't make sense. According to them, a child can't make a kinyan. So how can Amma Ivriya acquire the shittul for the people in the Mavoi? Now we said everyone agrees a child can't give a gift. Now what about our Mishnah? It doesn't really fit in with Chachmei Baba. Rabbi Yosef Bai, you want to say, it says, where do we say you can give a gift? A man can give a gift. Yeah, Ki'itin ish. A child can't give a gift. If that's the case, a child shouldn't acquire things for himself. The Chassidus says a person gives ish el re'eu to his friend. So it's actually hey kareu. You got to be similar to your friend. So basically, if you give a gift, you got to be an ish and not a child. So the receiver has to be a man and not a child. And if a child can't acquire within Torah, so how can Amma Ivriya acquire shittul for other people? The Chachamim based their takana on the takana sapa'utais. There's various takana for children. The tanina and apiyutais, those who are young, mekhan mekach umemkara memka. Their transactions are valid transactions. Right? You send a 10-year-old child to the shop to buy some food. How can the child buy some food? How can they acquire the food? The answer is takana sapa'utais. With movable things. So just like they set this up for mekach and memka, so also as far as giving matana and kabbalas matanas, they like mekach and memka. So it comes out a child can be zaycha with these gifts that they give him and give gifts to others. It's a kinyan gobble, but it's like a drabanan gift. Okay, the Mishnah says you can acquire shittul through Amma Ivriya. She's got koyach to acquire for rabbinical things. Now that's all very well, even though she's young. She's got koyach to be zaycha at mammon. Now, but we've learned aval ein mezakeh. You should not do a shittul for your mother, your young children, but you're not your servants. Because their hand is an extension of yours. right? It's never really left your domain. Now, why do you give it to your young children? It's still yours because the children can't acquire the item, and it still remains yours. So you see, a child can't be acquiring money. Rabbana the Kisrin Amra, they said, Kan, Amevriya is Yesh Das Latinok. Is where the child has das, whereas Kan, the young children, ain't das Latinok. The child has got no das. You hear that? So there's a difference in ages. There's an 11-year-old who's got proper das, and there's a 5-year-old who hasn't. Now, you cannot be Zoich on the Shitto for your Mavoy through your non-Jewish servants. So Gemara brings a deal, what about non-Jewish servant can he acquire for others from his teacher? Taman Tanina, we've learned, Hashal Para V'Shilchala, you acquire a cow, you borrow a cow. V'Shilchala B'Yad B'Loi. Now, the mashal, the lender sends it with his son, or B'Yad Avda, B'Yad Shluchai, through his messenger, or Mesa, the animal dies of its own before it reaches the borrower. Patel, the borrower is patel from all damages, it's not yet gone into his domain. If the shayl asked him, the one who's borrowing, says, please send it through your son, please send it through your servant, and then he followed that request and he sent it, and then the animal dies in the way, the shayl is chayav, because the child was the agent, was the expected agent to bring it, right, from the borrower. The borrower made an agent, and therefore the borrower took on all responsibility for the journey. And therefore, the time they move the cow from the owner, that's it. At that moment, they acquire it for any damages. Now, let's hada amra. Does this not tell me she'eved mezakim v'rabba le'acher? Does this not tell me that an eved can acquire money of his master for other people? Because the eved, the point of the Mishnah, is like one of the messengers. He's probably an eved Kanani, and yet the shayl, the borrower, can acquire the cow by the eved moving the cow. So what do we see? An eved Kanani can acquire for someone else an item which is given through his master. Rav Lazar Tifta explained it by Eved Ivri. No, it's a Jewish servant. Rav Yechia said, I feel it might be a non-Jewish servant, but Tifta can explain it. But overlay where the borrower says, Pesach la, you open the door for the cow, Uba Meila will come on its own accord. In this situation, the shayl is chayav as soon as it leaves the courtyard of the mashal, without any need of a master kinyan. That's what he obligated himself. As soon as you open the door, the cow will start moving. I am liable. The Tani came and learned about saying Higa. If the borrower led the cow or Imshicha, pulled it, Karla Abbas, he called it and it came. It's chayav l'shal. In that moment, he has to pay for any damages, kashal like a shal. So just like a shal becomes responsible for any damages through what he tells the animal to go after it, so also can be chayav for what he causes the owners to send the parah based on his request. Reb Zeira. Shamal, I hear the question whether Ebed Kanani has got koyach min from the following paragraph. It says, you cannot give over the shituf to other people. Not through your young children. Not your non-Jewish servants. Their hand is like his hand. And therefore it's not left his domain. Surely this tells me that a servant, an Eved Kanani, cannot be Zochid money from his master for someone else. So the Gemara says no. It could be this Mishnah is not like everyone. So we can explain the Mishnah is Meir. So Amu who said Yad Eved ki Yad Rabbi Dami, that the hand of his servant is like the hand of his master, right? And that's why the hand of the servant is like the Eved Kanani is like the master, and that's why the Mishnah says he can't make kinyonim for someone else. Now, according to the Chachamim who argue Rameh, and they hold, we don't say Eved is Kiyad Rabbi, it could be an Eved can be Zeichel for someone else. You hear that? So the question is he independent of you or not? Now, V'ha'tani, but we said in the Mishnah, that if you want to acquire the shitta for others, you can do it through your wife, Ishtai. Islach, maybe you're honestly going to tell me to Rameh that this is the view of Rameh. It can't be. Rameh says that Yad Eved is Yad Rabbi, but Aved Yad Isha, he treats a woman like the husband, Kiyad Bala, and therefore a woman can't be zeichen the shituf from her husband for the mavoi. She's just him. It must be the Mishnah's Chachamim, and still it says that Eved Kanani can't acquire it for others. So you see, even according to the Chachamim, a guy can't acquire it from his teacher for others. From Chanani V'Shem Rav Pinchas, Tivta, we can explain the case Kahan Tanya, like the Tanya we learned in the Brisa, Ishtay Eina Poider Lo Masa Sheni. Now, a wife cannot redeem her husband's Maser Sheni without adding a fifth. You know the din. When an owner redeems his own Maser Sheni, he has to add a fifth, yeah? and a wife's got the same din. The wife is just similar to the husband, and the money that she uses for the pidyon belongs to her husband, and therefore if the husband's doing it, he has to add a fifth. Shim ben Elazar, Shim Rameya, he said, Ishtay poida le masa sheni, the wife can be poida masa sheni without adding a fifth, because the hand of a woman is not like the hand of the husband. So it could be she might have money which doesn't belong to the husband, and when she's using it, she's like someone else being poida. She doesn't have to add a fifth. It comes out to Tanya. So according to this Tanya, which is Shim ben Elazar, Avad Rameya Aved Kiad Rabbi, we say yes, a servant is like the master, but a wife is different. We do not treat the wife like the husband. So it could be our mission says a person can do a shituf through a wife, but not through Eved Kanani. And that's Rameya, according to Shimon Lazar. So the mission we can also learn, just to learn, according to Rameya, Eved Kanani can't be Zaycha for others, but there's no raya what the view of the Chachamim is in this situation. If the food has gone down from the share, you had the right share for all the people for your shittim voice, and it's gone down. Ma'asif, you can add a bit to make up the share, mezakeh, and you acquire that extra bit for the people of the mavoy. You don't have to tell them. And if there's new residents, so now there's not enough food for all the residents, then ma'asif, one person can add a bit of food to make up the share, or mezakeh, and you acquire it on their behalf from the people of the mavoy, and v'sorach l'idea. And you have to tell them. Yeah? So if there's new residents, you have to tell them. But if you're adding more food, you don't have to tell them. Now, one who adds food on the shituf to include new residents, you have to tell them. Ma'al Madia, why do you have to tell these new people? You can do it without telling them. He says the reason is, halacha, there's halacha chachamim instituted, but the truth is you don't have to tell them. Because a person, you can make an eruv for a person without his knowledge. But the Chachamim instituted, if you add food, you have to tell them what you've done, that they should be included in the shituf, and that they should know they're allowed to carry them. Okay? Now, what about the case where the food got reduced? And the Gemara holds the food that's reduced, one does the shituf, maybe he ate from it, maybe after he acquired it for everyone. Les hada amra. Surely, do we not see from our Mishnah that one who is mezakeh, his own food for the mavoi, he doesn't give them a monetary share in that food. You understand? It's not that they now own a monetary share in that food. That's not what happens. It's the food is called on their name for the shituf. The financial right on that money is still his. And if we don't say that, how would he allowed to eat that food? He's eating food which is not his. The fact that he's eating it shows you that really he owns it. Rav Chanina said, Tifto, we can explain the case, Shugaru Achbarim, the mice have eaten it for some of the food, not that he ate it himself. Okay? Halacha, Ches. You still with me, Rav YCD? Kamahu Shiurai. What is the Shev Shituvim advice? Vizman Shem Erubin, there are many people, Mazan Shtei Sudas. The food of 2 meals of a normal person, lekulan, for all of them. It can be a small meal. Mazan Shtei Sudas helps for their eruv. Now this is usually for food, which is like the vital part of the meal, like bread and so on. If you're using a min which is like eaten with bread, like meat, then the share that's needed is the amount of that type of food which is eaten with bread for 2 meals. Okay? So, Merubin is Merubin Mazn Shei Sudas, for all of them. That's the share is enough. So what food of 2 meals of one person is enough for all of them. Because one chain will want it, if there's a small amount of people, good grigras. Did a dry fig, for each one of them. And we bring 2 shurim. But a lot of people are not a lot of people. The share of food of 2 meals is when they are merubin, is shiva also, 17 and above. Or mu'atin, the fig, is shisha also, 16. If you would divide the food, and if there's a share 2 meals for between them, then there's at least enough of a fig, each one of them, that could mu'atin. and they can good enough to have one fig each. But if it's more people, by the time you divide up the food, each one will get less than a fig. Then they are considered merubin. They're considered many, and they don't all have to give a fig, but each one don't have to give a fig, but you need the meal of 2 sudas for all of them, and share 2 sudas for all of them. So he's learning if they're merubin, then they can join. It's enough meal of 2 meals. They need just 2 meals for all of them. If they're mu'atin, they don't need 2 meals. They need a grogros for each one. Okay. Let's carry on. Have a b'ayimema. They wanted to say below pligi. There actually is no argument that Rav agrees that merubin, you divide it up, there'll be 2 meals. Each one won't get a grogros. Mu'atin, if you divide it, they'll get a grogros. But they're arguing how much food in the food of 2 meals. Ma'adam, Rav says 17 people's called merubin, 16 is mu'atin. That is Rav Meir. That's like the view of Rav Meir, who holds that mazon of 2 meals is a share of 16 grogros. Therefore, he holds that 16 people is mu'atin, because when you divide 2 meals, each one will get a grogros. 17 is merubin, and you divide up 2 meals between them, will get less than a grogros. Man de Omar Rav Yochanan, the one which said Rav Yochanan when he argues in Rav is Rav Yochanan Breaker. Now he holds 2 meals is less than 16 figs. So 16 residents are considered many, because by dividing 2 meals between them, each one will get less than a fig. And only less than 16 is considered mu'atin. So the question is 16 considered many or not? And 2 meals, is it equal to 16 figs or less than 6 a fig each? Now, Rabbi Yossi said, the shurim that I mentioned in our Mishnah apply it when you set up the Eruv. But when you've got remnants of the Eruv, then it's kasha even with a small amount. Kama in shior Eruv, what do you mean remnants of an Eruv? Kai da'amar Rabbi Yossi Shem Rabbi Yossi, like he said, with the hyssop that they sprinkle the mechatas when someone died, and his tummy mace, he came into contact with someone who's dead. According to Rabbi Yossi, the Ezav has to be 3 stalks and 3 givolim, like 3 stalks off the stalks. And even a small bit is kosher. Ezav, which had a shehizabah, which you sprinkle mechatas, pa'amachad, once, is kosher, you can use it again, even if it doesn't have a sheh. Because mikaba edach, once you've done the shimush, you've used it even once, then it's considered shirayim. Of ha'chakain, it's the same thing here. If you use something as an eruv even for one Shabbos, it's considered shiore eruv. That is kosher even with the smallest amount. Halacha test. You with me? Yeah. Rabbi Yosef. Now this is the various shiurim. When do we say that you need the eruv needs a share b'tchilas? When you set it up. Avashiyare eruv, when it's ready chal and then it reduced in size, kosher the smallest amount. You don't have to add anything for the following weeks. Because the only thing you should do an eruv in your chatzah when they join together. People shouldn't forget. People living in courtyards, there's no dinner over chatzeros, because it's needed for this reason. Therefore, we can be lenient when it's leftovers on eruv. Now, the Mishnah explained that chachamim require eruv chatzeros even they're already joined in shituvei mavais. We don't want to forget the laws of eruv from the children. Why do the Chachamim say you can join the courtyards even if the people already joined with the alley? You can still join the courtyards. It's for the sake of peace, because you need to get food for the eruv from everyone. They'll all start talking together. They'll be involved. The neighbors have to speak to one another, and that can only be a good thing. We have a woman. She was hated by her friend. She sent her part of the eruv to the other woman through her son. Naste, the woman took the son. She embraced the son, so the enemy embraced the son and kissed him. He comes back home and tells his mother. She says, wow, she likes me so much. I didn't know. They made peace. It says, in all the ways of peace. You can use any type of food, except for water or salt. Rabbi Yerushalmi says, Kika, hu eruv. 1 loaf is kosher for eruv chatzeros, but not other foods, and not a broken loaf. Even bread, which is made from a sa'ah of kemach or flour, but he perusav, it's got a bit broken, Ein ma'avin bo. Do not use it. Kikar, a small loaf. Ke'isa, the size of a small coin. V'ushalem, and it's whole. Then ma'avin bo, then you can use it. Noisin adamav lechemeni. You can give your money to a shopkeeper who sells wine, and he lives together with you in the mavoi, and you give him some money. Alanachtam to the baker who sells bread. So he should include you in the Eruv. He gives you a share of the bread for the Eruv or for the Shituf Mavais. That when people come to buy wine for Shituf or bread, he'll add a bit for the one who gave the mar, and you'll have a bit of a share in it as well. The money you gave him doesn't help, right? Because he'll use it for something else, basically. They agree if you give your money to other people, not a white merchant, but other people, then your money will help you. Now, the Chacham said you give money to a baker, doesn't help. Even he'll give you a share, but he's not going to give you a share in the Eruv. You can't leave an Eruv for someone unless he agrees to it. And you're putting the money, the person never agreed to make the baker a shliach to make an Eruv for him. Rav Yehuda said, now you can't make an Eruv for someone without knowing. That's when it comes to distances from the town. Where is your tchum? If I go this way, I'm losing that way. So you're doing something for me which I may end up losing out on. And that's why you can't do it without me knowing about it. Right? Whereas there's nothing to lose here. You're only gaining. It's good for a person. You're happy. You can use the courtyard from your house, the courtyard. So you can make an Eruv for him whether he wants it or not. You can do this for a person without him knowing about it. You can't do anything nasty without telling him first. Now, the Chachamim said that one who gives money to a chembeni, it doesn't help, but they agree if you give money to not a shopkeeper to have a share for you, it helps. So there's a money acquires things about Torah. It's only a takana that it Mashiach helps. And Eruv, there will make all that says your money acquires it. If that's the case, even if you come to a shopkeeper and you give him money to acquire share in the Eruv, it shouldn't help. Why do Chachamim say it doesn't help by giving money to the shopkeeper? But he says there we're worried, Shani Shema Yishkach, he'll forget Yotzi and he'll spend the money on his own things. That's why it doesn't help. He didn't say like this, that Mois helps Kinyan money in Torah. Ella, he learns, the Chachamim said, when he gives money to a shopkeeper, the money doesn't help. So Samaris, we learned, money does not acquire Minat Torah. And that's why your money doesn't help a Chelik in the Eruv. Now, the Chachamim agree with other people. You give money to a balabais, for a normal person to have a share, so there your money helps. The reason is, he's not going to have loaves for selling. He goes to a shopkeeper to buy. So when you give money to a balabais, money to have a share, you get your share. The shopkeeper will give him bread through the balabais during Mashiach. And the Chacham said, that you can't do an Eruv for someone without him knowing about it. Rabbi Yehuda holds you can. You can't rely on Shituf when there's Eruv. You need Eruv Chatzeres in addition to Shituf and Mavais. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda said. You can make an Eruv Chatzeres even without his knowledge. You need to make both. But Eruv Chatzeres, he needs to know about it. Right? Because you need both. He says you can't rely on Shituf and you need Eruv Chatzeres as well. So therefore he holds you can make a Eruv Chatzeres even without him knowing. What does he say here? They did Shituf Mavais. They did Eruv Chatzeres. According to Rav Meir, you can't rely on Shituf Mokum Eruv. And Rav Yehuda said you can do Eruv Chatzeres without telling him, even against his will. And according to the Chachamim, when they did Shituf Mavais, you don't need to do Eruv Chatzeres. We never have said Rav Yehuda that you do Eruv Chatzeres against his will. All right. Let's carry on. Rav Zeira b'shem Rav Yochanan be'eruvin, where Rav Meir requires eruv and shituf, but Tani Sibur, but whether you do duchening, mincha, neila, whatever it is, noga kol kurmeh, they follow Rav Meir's din. Rabbi Yaakov Shem Rabbi Yochanan Af Megillas Esther Menaga Kol Rameh, the father of Meir, who holds you don't fulfill your duty until you read the whole thing. Rabbi Yisrael HaGolav Shem Rabbi Yehuda Messiah Ma'avin LaAdam Al Kalchai. You can make an error for someone even against his will. But Tani came, we learn Kofim Leim Others that the Ali people can force each other to give money, Lasses Lahem Lachiv Akora, to make them a board, and the stick, etc., to now tiltal in the Mava and Shabbos. And just like we force residents in the to give money for a lachi, so also we can force them to give a share in the Eruv as well. It's also important. If people got someone to make an Eruv, and he didn't say he didn't want it, we can include him without telling him. We can go in his house and take the money for the Eruv. So it sounds like and if he refuses, he says we can't seem to force him. Rav Yehuda Masnisa, he says the Brisa, which is mashma, that if he refuses, we can't force him, that's Rameah. Because you can't force someone against his will. Rav Yisrael Kula holds like Yehuda, because you can make an Eruv against someone's will. He explained, he gave an answer. Tifto explained the Brisa with Divrei Kol, even Rav Yehuda. And that the person who lives there refuses was Hayat Tzadaiki. He didn't agree in the laws of Eruv. And then he can't be included in the Eruv, and therefore there's no reason to force him. Now, so Rav Yisrael Kula said you can force someone against his will. But we learned in the Brisa, if someone forgot and didn't join up, bein shogig bein mezid, whether intentional or not, he forbids carrying on there everyone else in the courtyard. Rabbi Yehuda said, Mezid Isa. Mezid he forbids, shogig and Isa. He doesn't forbid. Mezid Isa. Now, when it's Mezid, he forbids everyone. But according to his view, Rabbi Yehuda holds, you can make an error for him against his will. So why does he forbid? He says the reason why the issa to carry is mishum knas. He didn't join in, is a knas. Me'ata, if that's the case, this one who refused also shouldn't be able to carry. Everyone else should be able to. Everyone else should be allowed to. Right? They did what they needed to do. And they find him, we couldn't make an Eruv, and he chose not to. So the Chachamim put a fine on him. You can't benefit from the Eruv. There's no reason to forbid everyone else. Now, what about Rameah? He holds you can't make Eruv Chaseres without telling someone. Unless they Rameah, does Rameah not hold Zachar L'Adam Shlei B'Farav Ve'en Chavala? You can do a Zechus for someone, you can't do a Chayiv. So if that's the case, why does he hold you can't make Eruv Chaseres against his will? Eruv Chaseres is a Zechus. So the Gemara answers, Savar Rameah, Teres Hadar Zachu. He holds that this is not, make Eruv Chaseres is not a Zechus. You don't want people to come into your house without you knowing. You'd rather people would be forbidden to carry from their houses to the courtyard and the other way around. Since people will intrude in your house possibly, and you don't want that. So you're not so happy about it. And we bring you a story. She made an Eruv with her mother-in-law, Eruv Chaseres, but laid out without telling her. Also, of the Kumir Ishmael, statement came before Ishmael, of Bikesh, he wanted a pasalit belasar, and to forbid carrying the courtyard like Rameh, you can't make an Eruv without telling them. Oh, the Recher says, Kach Shemati Yavichas, what I heard from your father, Kol Masha'at Yachal Lahakel, the Eruvin, when you can be lenient in Eruvin, you should be lenient. And therefore, in this situation, you should pass in the Kula, the Eruv's Kasha, and that's like Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah. Hadron Alach Halain, Hadron Alach Halain, Hadron Alach Halain. Okay, you want to stop that?